I feel like personally that Kirk Cousins is going to be the Niners quarterback, whether it's this year or next year. I think to me, it feels inevitable that it's going to happen. You've got Kyle Shanahan. His dad's gone on record of what he thinks of Kirk. Kyle's been around him. They've had a good working relationship. It just makes too much sense. Now, to me, I don't think a long-term deal gets done in Washington. So if you're Washington, do you franchise tag him at $24 million this year, and then a year from now you lose him and maybe you're looking at a comp pick? Or do you aggressively start trying to shop him right now and see what you can get for him? So to me, of all the names we talk about with the quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Trubisky, Kaiser, we talk about Garoppolo, we talk about Kirk Cousins, the most important quarterback in this whole carousel to me is Colt McCoy. Because if the Redskins feel like with what they have,
oh, come on.
I'm telling you, there's some people around that I hear that say that inside that building, Colt McCoy is a lot more thought of than you think. If they believe that Colt McCoy is okay, then they're going to trade Kirk Cousins and get what they can get.
Daniel Jeremiah, sir. Where's Tony Romo going to wind up, do you think?
Wow, I think if I was going to look at a place, I think Chicago would probably be a place. I think Chicago, it's either going to be Romo or Garoppolo. That's the sense I get.
Really?
That's just the way I feel.
So, I mean,
where does he want to go? If I were Tony Romo, I'd want to go to Houston. That would be number one on my list.
Right, because he stays in state. His family doesn't have to be completely uprooted. He's ready to go. Every time I mention this to John McClain, he says, no chance.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, you look at what they're paying Osweiler. Who cares? I mean, it's the most important position. Carve out the money. They should be able to do that.
To be able to just keep both.
Yeah,
Osweiler's the backup.
Year, and then a year from now you can
get rid of Osweiler.
Or maybe Romo doesn't stay healthy. I mean, wherever Romo goes, the contract to me has to be tied to his health. I mean, I don't have any question about his skills. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy.
Why do we keep hearing Kansas City?
Well, I think Andy, I've been around Coach Reed for a couple years working there. He always, has an appreciation for the quarterback position. And,
sure.
and I think he's always looking, to get better. And the question is, has he tapped how far they can go with Alex Smith? I think Alex Smith takes a lot of undue criticism, but there is legitimate question: is he good enough to get you to that final step?
What about Denver? You think that's a possibility? That they hold off on the Paxton Lynch anointing, or going further down the road with Trevor Siemian, that they pull another we're ready to win now situation with a veteran quarterback?
I don't know. I think, to me, Tony Romo, with the health issues he had behind the best offensive line and a great running game,
right? You
go in Denver behind that group, they've got some holes they need to shore up for him to be successful there.
What do you think Dallas does? Release him, trade him? What's the end game scenario here?
Well, I mean, obviously Romo would like to be released. I think if you're Dallas, you got to try and find a way where you can get something. I mean, there's just...
And also prevent him from winding up in the conference.
Yeah,
right?
See, my thing
Get him
is...
to the AFC.
And I've argued, I don't think Jerry Jones would want him in the state either, even though Houston's in the AFC.
Right.
I think he'd prefer to get him. A place like Chicago, probably Jerry Jones would be just fine with that.
But what about Romo? Would he want to go to Chicago? I know he's an Eastern Illinois guy. I know that's where he grew up, the area near where he grew up. Do you think he'd want to go? I mean, with the closing window of opportunity, that John Fox's Bears are ready to win in the next year or two?
Well, I think you have some things you can sell him on that maybe people don't see from the outside. But you've got a pretty good group of offensive linemen there. You've got three guys, especially in the interior, need to add a tackle. If you could get Alshon Jeffrey re-signed, you've got a back that was second in the league in rushing, and Jordan Howard is just going to get better. So they have a really good young front seven. So there's some there. I don't think that Chicago team's quite as bad as their record might indicate.
So Cutler, where does he wind up?
That's the great mystery. I have no idea. I mean, it would seem to be like the place where he would end up would be your Jets.
Don't say that.
Just because it would
Why
be
is everybody saying
be dysfunction.
Because it makes sense.
It would just be total dysfunction.
Why does it make sense? It's the worst idea in the world.
That's why it makes sense.
It's the worst
You don't
idea
have a
in the
quarterback.
world. So what?
And Jay is still one of the 25 best ones in the league right now.
Jay Cutler is a high-quality quarterback in terms of his skill set.
Yep.
Okay. There's no question about his skill set, correct?
Huge arm.
Okay,
every
right.
Throw.
And has the ability to win football games in the NFL.
Yeah.
Got it. But the minute he has a 2-3 interception performance, and those happen for him, when there's one, there's usually two, and when there's two, there's usually three, and when there's three, there's definitely four. He has one of those games and shows up to the podium once and does the I don't care routine with his body language and, wiping his face and just going, I got to play better. I just got to do better. Does the rote Cutler response that gives off the impression he does not give two you-know-whats. It's over in New York City. He can't pull that in New York City.
But
he can't.
Aren't you just the tiniest bit curious to see what the Post would do with the headlines?
Oh,
with Jay
God, no.
Cutler?
Please, come on.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.